Community is the compass, built not of sameness, but of voices varied and vibrant, stitched together in a quilt of care and resistance. Let difference be our strength, not our division.
Okay, good evening. It's 5 o'clock again. We're trying to bring you the latest updates of what's going on around the country and even within our own community. Yeah, we try to bring you local politics, tell you about different events that are going on. We talk about all different types of things on this particular show. Well, basically, we talk about politics. Um, so this evening, as always, I have to be grateful for something. So I am grateful again that I have a roof over my head. I think everybody should really be grateful for things like that. And every day someone should look for something to be grateful for because there are things to be grateful for. All right, I'm here with my brother. This of course the show is Stevenson and Yates, and we are politicking. So let me introduce my brother, Mr. Ronald Yates.
Hey,
Ashe,
brother.
brother.
Hotep,
Ashe.
Hotep.
Hotep, how are you? I'm glad you said that because I tell you I had to do the research on the word, so I had to look it up just to so I can get it clear in my head. So how's your weekend been?
Well, as usual, just way too fast, brother. You know, you look, Friday is like 30 seconds, Saturday about 15 seconds, Sunday about 10 seconds, then it's right back to Monday, you know?
Mm-hmm.
5 days to get off to.
Unless you're like me, every day is Saturday. You know that's what happens when you retire.
Well, I'm retired, but just not fully, you know.
Oh, you're not retired. You get up and go to work, man.
Exactly.
That's a job, brother. You know,
It is.
one day you're gonna be retired. You're gonna get an opportunity to enjoy all the good things, and then you'll have that to be grateful for.
Yeah,
Let's
one of
step
these
off.
days.
There was a topic or two that you wanted to bring up. Well, we'll get back into the news as we talk politics. But you were talking about what's his name, Luigi, the young man that
Yeah.
shot that health guy. What was that all about?
Yeah, he shot or is alleged to have shot the
Hmm.
CEO of United Healthcare. I guess it's coming up on a year or so ago now. I know it was the winter time. And he allegedly, and I want to stress the word allegedly, you know, because I think if you give some real critical thought to what happened, right, it strongly suggests if he's the shooter, that there was definitely some assistance, inside assistance. Because let's be realistic. This young man comes to New York. How does he know Brian Thompson is in New York? Now, Brian
Right.
Thompson is the CEO of United Healthcare. Most people, you know, who are CEOs, especially of major corporations, they're not going to advertise their itinerary for obvious reasons, right?
Right.
And typically, they're going to be traveling with some form of security, right? Some sort of detail or advanced detail will go and make sure you know it's safe, right? Well, somehow this young man knew when he would arrive, where he would be staying, even somehow when he would be leaving his hotel in the wee hours of the morning.
Mm.
And at that point, he is alleged to have drew a gun, fired the fatal shots. Now, after shooting, you know, Fortune 500 CEO, this guy has an escape plan. He has the
Hmm.
bike planted, you know, short distance from the crime scene, gets on the bike. Now, let's back up for a second. The bike is left in Midtown Manhattan. It's not going to raise any red flags. Bikes don't have license plates, so you can't run a registration to determine who owns the bike. Bike sitting there could be a messenger, could be a DoorDash, and nothing to raise any red flags. A smart
Keep going,
move.
brother. I gotta hit the latrine for a second, so just help me out, okay? Go ahead. You
Mhm.
got it.
So it's a smart move on his behalf to use a bike. Then he basically eludes the traffic cameras, the residential cameras, disappears into Central Park, from Central Park, it's kind of murky as to his mode of transportation out of the city. But we know from his arrest that he went to Pennsylvania, more than 100 miles away from New York City, away from the crime scene. No one is looking for him in this part of Pennsylvania. But now we're to believe that this young man who planned and executed almost a flawless assassination, as he's traveling west, away from the scene of the crime, his ability to think and reason began to rapidly diminish. Now, you've done all this planning, escaped New York City, one of the most heavily surveilled cities in the country, maybe even in the world, got to Pennsylvania, and yet you decide to keep the murder weapon on your person when you could have disposed of it anywhere along the route. And you decide to go to a McDonald's restaurant where there are members of the public inside. You know, nowadays, if you're driving a car, you go through the drive-through, nobody's really paying attention to the driver. Why go inside the restaurant? And now you're pulling down the mask you're wearing in order to expose your face, something that he was careful not to do in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So in all of the motions, pre-trial motions.
Did he ever admit guilt? Did he ever say, hey, I'm guilty? Or
he has not. He has not. And in all of these motions and pre-trial hearings, right, no possibility that there was someone else involved, someone providing him with information on Brian Thompson's movements, where he's going to be, when he's going to ride, when he's going to leave the hotel. How does this young man know all of this? Now let's
how can they definitively say it's him? I mean, how much proof do they have, or is it just all circumstantial evidence? I mean, whatever proof do they have saying that it's him?
Well, they claim that they recovered the gun from him. Now, what assassin that is able to plan this nearly flawless execution, what assassin is going to hold on to the gun? Doesn't make sense. What assassin is going to go to a restaurant and crowded, presumably crowded with people, walk in and expose your face?
So what do you think? He's being used as an scapegoat, or someone that they can lay it on real quick?
Absolutely, because again, how did he gather this information? And in none of the pre-trial motions or hearings, nobody has again ever raised the possibility that there was somebody else involved, feeding him information. What does he gain by killing this CEO? Others seem to stand to gain a lot more than he does. Now, let's juxtapose that with the killing of Charlie Kirk. When Charlie Kirk was killed, basically, the administration said, hey, listen, Charlie Kirk is a national hero. Flew flags at half-staff, flew his body home on Air Force Two, all this fanfare. Yet, since the days and weeks following Charlie Kirk's assassination, what have you heard about the alleged shooter? Is he in jail? Is he out on bail? Are there any pre-trial hearings? Are there any motions? What have you heard about this young man?
Not a thing, not a word.
Not a damn thing. You just killed one of the most controversial public speakers in this country, allegedly a friend of the President of the United States of America, and yet not a single word about this young man. Now, here's the other part about that.
What do you think? You think this is all like some JFK conspiracy type stuff, man, that's going on?
I think this young man is a scapegoat because I've seen some clips on social media where they have said that there were Israeli cell phones within the radius of where Charlie Kirk was shot. And if you go back and you listen to some of his speeches, Charlie Kirk at one point began to rail against Israel and their involvement in Gaza. He basically said that Israel is committing genocide. Now, you got to figure, you got to understand that Charlie Kirk has a pretty large following. How long before some of those people that listen to Charlie Kirk would have been taking a closer look at what's happening in Gaza as it relates to the slaughter of the Palestinian people? And yet this guy, who we're told, this guy who was suddenly radicalized, somehow managed to take an assault rifle past security up onto an elevated platform where he could get a clear shot at Charlie Kirk, a guy that had limited experience with a high-powered rifle, gets lucky getting through security, and then fires a lucky shot, point-blank range, one shot, one kill? Really? And since that time, not a single word. The case
that is kind of a little confusing. I'm just trying to figure out the correlation between that shooter and the other shooter, and
what I'm saying is
together.
Well, what I'm saying is, with Mangione, every hearing there would be media coverage. With the shooting, with the case, I think his name is Tyler Robinson, whatever his name is. There's nothing, a media blackout, nothing about his whereabouts. Is he even in jail? Has he made bail? Nothing. How do you have the murder or alleged murder of somebody with a following like Charlie Kirk and not a single word? Nothing? Really?
Yeah.
Any other time, they call this, remember the O.J. Simpson case, the trial of the century. Every time O.J. blew his nose, O.J. blew his nose today. Right, more details at 6.
Yeah, well, also O.J. was a person of color, so it made it even bigger. But we got some other fish to fry, so let's fry some other fish. When we talked about I wanted to talk to you about those bombings that are continued. You notice that Trump is starting to really distance himself away from all of that, even though Pete Hegseth is trying to distance himself, even though his mother says that he's a drunk and he didn't do very well on Fox News. He's still trying to throw this admiral underneath the bus. Well, what do you think about that?
I think that this admiral, I think his name is Bradley.
Yeah.
I think that this admiral is going to be scapegoated. In fact, I'm certain of it. This admiral, who worked his way up through the ranks of the United States Navy, knows full well exactly what the 6 Democratic senators said, that you and I, who both served in the military, also know very well, that under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, you do not have to follow an illegal order. If you are in a combat zone and a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, whoever tells you to fire or open fire on unarmed civilians, you do not have to follow that order. It is a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It is a violation of the Geneva Convention. It is a violation against humanity. You don't.
So do you think they're going to bring him up on charges? Like maybe, I don't know. I mean, we could say war crimes. We're not at war, so I don't know if that really applies to say that it's war crimes. Would he be charged with murder?
I don't know if they'll go that far as to charge him with murder. I think what will happen is that he'll be told to very quietly go away. And I can remember when I was in the Army, I was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. And if you go out the back gate of Fort Benning, there is this huge Army Navy surplus store. And it is called Callie's Army Navy. I didn't realize that someone told me that that particular location was owned by Lieutenant Calley, the man who had been charged with the My Lai massacre in Vietnam.
Hmm.
Well, wasn't he supposed to be in jail? How was he in Fort Benning, Georgia, or outside Fort Benning, Georgia, running a surplus Army Navy goods store? Calley was presumably told to go away quietly. Go run your Army Navy store, stay below the radar, and we won't bother to say anything else about it. Because let's be realistic. Those orders had to come from above Lieutenant Calley.
Yeah.
During that
I
time,
said about the admiral. I said the same thing about the admiral. Is that, you know, I know Pete Hepsteck is trying to get himself off the fish hook, but I don't think, I don't see how that's possible, because I mean everybody knows that orders come from the top down, always, especially when they're orders to kill. It's not just admiral. The admiral is making that decision. Say, okay, well, there's 2 people left out there. Let's go ahead and do away with them, unless they could see that these people were just regular fishermen or so forth and so on, and to cover it up, to say, well, we know it's drugs, so they take them out. This way, everybody's hush hush and quiet, and we're sitting here talking about whether the guy committed war crimes or not.
Well,
that's my take on it.
Right. Well, these are murders, right? You know, it's pretty clear cut, right? You don't just open fire on what you believe to be a boat carrying drug. That the drugs itself pose no immediate threat or risk to anybody on the high seas. If they were carrying drugs, just like the Navy is firing, you know, at these boats, they can interdict them. They can stop these boats. They can board them. They can search for drugs. They can arrest the occupants, right? Let's be realistic. If this was an interdiction mission, why not send a Coast Guard? That is the mission of the Coast Guard, right?
Did you see what the Coast Guard said? The Coast Guard said about maybe a quarter of the people that they actually stop are actually doing something. 75% of the people that they stop are doing nothing. They have no drugs, not carrying anything.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I was listening to something, and the guy was trying to forget his name, but he was trying to spin it. They're saying, yeah, well, the people who were out there, they deserve to get killed because they were still in the war. Because they were climbing back into the boat. So that means that they were still in the combat. They were still in the war. And again, who's declared war?
Well, you know what? You're talking about Senator Tom Cotton. He said that the other day. He said that he saw these guys clinging to the wreckage, trying to get back into the fight. My question is, what fight?
What fight?
There was no shots fired from inside that vessel, right? So if there was some sort of action against the Navy, then they could perhaps justify firing a shot. But there was no aggressive action taken against the Navy. And let's be realistic. The Navy is firing these shots from miles away, right? It's not like you need to be right up on your target, you know, in eyesight, you know, in clear line of sight to shoot. The Navy has weapons that lock on, right?
What are they using? Drones? Because it looks like they're using like a drone or something. Because
it could very well be a drone strike.
That they satellite or something, because I'm just looking at the view that they have. They're looking at a downward view when you see them blow these boats up. So they can see how many people are in there. They could see everything going into the boat. So how could they say that they're filled with drugs if they haven't pulled them over? I mean, if you can see the person out there, okay, you know his location, so send the Coast Guard out there. I mean, what the hell do we have the Coast Guard for? What do we need the Coast Guard for? I mean, if you're just going to blow up and kill every damn body, what do we need the Coast Guard for?
Well, here's the thing. So you own the home. If someone enters your property, not just onto the land, right, leading up to your house, your property, right, And you say, you know what, this guy might be carrying drugs. Don't know him, right? You open your door and you open fire and you kill this man or this woman. And you tell the police, hey, listen, I believe he was carrying drugs. Well, what is your belief based on? Well, you know what? He's a Spanish speaker. He's dark skinned. I believe he comes from a place where they produce narcotics. So based on that, I felt fear for my safety, the safety of my family and other community members. So I shot him and I killed him. How far do you think that would get you in the U.S. criminal justice system?
Not very. I mean, since you brought that up, I'm wondering what's going to go on with these Somalians, man. I mean, because the Trump was talking really bad about them out there, with the ones out in Minnesota. He called the mayor of Minnesota a fool,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the largest population of Somalians right there in Minnesota. And Trump is just talking all kind of, to call them garbage, stupid, that they had no right to be in the country if they want to get. I mean, just on and on and on. And I mean, come on, man. That's not only unprecedented, what they call unprecedented. That's really ignorant. That's the way he speaks to about these people and talk to people. It shows his ignorance. It really does. I mean, I hate to say when I hate to say, and I look at people, talk to people, I hate to say that this guy is a representative. He's representing our country. Yeah, I wouldn't want him to represent my kindergarten school. That's more than the country.
Well, if you go back and you look at kind of the genesis of this situation between him and the Somali immigrants, when Trump ran for re-election, there was a contingent of Somali immigrants who went on to the local news and said they are putting their support behind Donald J. Trump. They were doing that because they believe he would end the wars in the Middle East, that he would bring stability to the region, and also that he would be best suited to stabilize the U.S. economy. So in that respect, Trump is right. They were fools. They were fools to believe him. They were fools to put their trust in him, that he would, bring peace to what's called the Middle East, and that he would provide economic stability for this country. Clearly, after nearly a year in office, the war in between, well, I don't want to call it war, a genocide is what it is. The genocide in Gaza continues to this day. Even though a ceasefire has been declared, since that time, Israel has violated the terms of that ceasefire multiple times, and Palestinians are still dying. And what is Trump doing about it? Providing Israel with more weapons, more funding, more economic funding, right? Or more economics, or basically handouts, right? Billions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer dollars going to Israel. So yeah, that was foolish on their part to put their faith in Donald Trump. So it's kind of like what happened with the people in Florida. There were a number of people from Venezuela who also said they publicly support Donald Trump. That they would not, that they thought that Joe Biden was a socialist and that the country was headed in the wrong direction. Well, here we are, almost a year later, and Trump is now on the verge of attacking the country that they hope to protect, Venezuela. So, I mean, for these folks, yeah, they were downright foolish.
And he keeps blaming everything on Biden. Everything that goes on, he's blaming it on Biden. Even the past inflation, right? He comes to Pennsylvania today, and he has his little powwow out here with the rest of his people that enjoy listening to what he has to say. And I'm being very nice. And he had his little round table with the farmers, and he gave them a little stimulus package, if you want to say, handed out another check. I guess that's supposed to solve the problems of the tariffs, which I don't think it will, because that's what they're giving. Is just going to be a Band-Aid. What are they going to do next year? for next year's crop. And what are they going to do about all the money that they've already lost this year and part of
Well,
that crop?
well, as you said, it's a band-aid. And what it will do, it will buy Trump. Just watch Trump's approval ratings over the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nothing like money to change, to bring about a change of heart. So for these farmers that are going to get this economic aid, they said the package is $12 billion. Will it actually be that much? Who knows? Will the farmers, how much will get to the farmers? Who knows? But it's something, right? And if you watch over the next couple of weeks, I would imagine that Trump's approval ratings will stabilize, even go up some, right?
Yeah.
Amongst his hardcore base, the MAGA element, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of course, he's made a promise to the American farmers. And the American farmers, they're not stopping to think, well, wait a minute, we're in this situation
Because
you cut off funding, you established the tariffs, and you bailed out the Argentinian economy to the detriment of American farmers. You boosted their ability to produce soybeans, which is the #1 crop for many U.S. farmers, and you're propping up their beef industry. So, of course, if you're going to give to their beef industry, that means you're going to hurt the domestic market. And
hey,
of course,
you went to the supermarket lately? The price of beef is going up, man. The price of orange juice is going up. I mean, a couple of things went down. He talked about the gas prices that went down, but mainly a lot of stuff is going up. And as far as the soybean is concerned, so there's no guarantee that China is going to start buying their soybean from us. I mean, Trump says that they got a deal or something going on the table, but he lies so much you don't know what to believe.
You know what? It is not in China's interest to buy American soybeans, right? Especially with the political and social climate between America and China. China has been, the brunt of America's wrath for years now. Everything is China. The trade imbalance, China. Rare earth minerals, China. Everything is China. So for China, why would they want to prop up the U.S. economy by buying soybeans? What does it benefit them when you can buy them cheaper from Argentina? Labor costs are cheaper, right? So why not just buy from Argentina and save yourself a few $100 million a year? And of course, it'll only hurt the U.S. farmers who will end up selling their land. And who knows? What's to stop the Chinese from buying up American land?
Nothing.
Growing the soybeans.
Well, haven't they been buying up American land and not only American land? Haven't they been buying up a lot of stuff like in Africa? They've been buying up a lot of the land over there in Africa as well,
all over the world.
Yeah. So they're building an empire, and they are very strong. I mean, people can downplay them as much as they want, but they have a pretty strong nation, man. I mean, I don't know economically if they're hurting as much as we are right now, but I think that the Japanese or the Chinese businessmen, I think that they were prepared for this. I think they were actually waiting for this to happen, honestly.
Well, you know what? From a global perspective, right? A lot of people now are looking past the United States. Even Israel is now looking to negotiate with China, right? Because they're looking past the United States. They see the writing on the wall, right? What's going on in this country economically, politically, socially, it's all unsustainable, right? Right now, our government, and I'm talking all three branches of government, nobody is doing anything meaningful to fix the economy, to bring back American jobs, right? Nobody is properly investing in education, which is the future. Trump himself, who said, I love the uneducated, is now saying to these very same uneducated people, you're too dumb to do the
Mhm.
high tech jobs
Yep.
that we need people to do. You don't know anything about AI. He went on Fox News and basically
And
said,
call people stupid.
call people stupid,
And
right?
we were too stupid. That's why we have
Right.
to go outside. We gotta go to South Africa and pick up the white South Africans, and we have to
And
pick up
people from India.
in
So now
Sweden.
they have a new sort of visa that they are issuing to
Yeah, what's that?
people.
VH1 or something to that
I
matter.
forget the designation, but I know there's a new visa that people have that, that have a good understanding of AI and the advancements in AI. They're coming to this country and they're going to be the ones getting those jobs. America, because of our lack of interest in education, our lack of funding for education, we have fallen so far behind that now other countries are leading the way in many respects in technology.
Hmm. It's funny. We had all these inventors and so many things that came out of this country. Just seem like we're just falling behind, falling to the wayside, man. As much as AI could probably do so many things for us agriculturally, along with education, with medicine, medical. I mean, there's so many fields that AI could have so much potential to do so many great things. Again, uh, the one thing I learned about being in the computer field, garbage in, garbage out, and it always depends on the user. So even though we may have an AI product that's pretty good, but it depends on the user. And the way it is that the way people are utilizing the internet right now, there's so much garbage that's put on the internet, so much misinformation that's but you can do anything you want, say anything that you want on the internet, and it kind of goes, it just goes, and they can just get away and do what they want, and there's no real regulations or laws from the American point of view that actually govern the internet. There's some very small, but really there aren't any real what do you call it? You can get away with pretty much everything, man, here in America on the internet. You know?
Well, I'll tell you something, right? Somewhere about 1984, a movie came out called The Terminator.
Hmm.
And the Terminator was a artificial intelligence, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
That came here to kill a particular man to stop uh, the future or to prevent him from rescuing his people in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So AI came back in time to kill John Connor's mother so he would never be born.
Mm-hmm.
Action-packed movie, but we did not realize that nearly 40 years later, we will be dealing with AI. That it would not be killing us like the Terminator does, but it will be killing US jobs. It will be
Well, we
killing
kind of sort of
communities.
knew about those things. I tell you, way back when I used to be young, and we talked about a lot of that. I even had to write some papers on the effects of AI as far as education is concerned, and that was back in the '90s. So I mean, we knew about this stuff, just like cell phones and the like we're doing now, the video conferencing. I mean, we can go back to the cartoons with the Jetsons and look at all of the technology that they had there that now is coming to fruition. So AI is right there. So the same with fiber optic. That's another vehicle that came into play. We're going to have a lot of vehicles, and I just think that as we move into the future, we're going to evolve. Right now, it's AI, and AI is going to take us to somewhere else.
Well, I don't know how far AI is going to take us, meaning the American people. I know for high tech companies, right? Those that are investing heavily in AI, it's going to take them places. The American people are going
Oh,
to fall
maybe not.
further
I would,
into the abyss.
yeah,
Financially, socially, more jobs are going to be taken by AI,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
You
mean,
know, I give you the other side of that as far as the AI is concerned. a lot of people are, or some people are actually investing in it, and some people are investing heavy in it, and they ended up losing some dough right now because of the data. You have to build these humongous data centers in order to run AI. I mean, it's not like because you see it on your phone or you see it on your television. No, you need twice the amount of server space that we're utilizing now to run AI. So it's going to be very costly for someone to just to have those data centers. So I don't know how far it's going to go. That's
Well,
all.
it's gone pretty far already, and it's the wave of the future. And in terms of these data centers, the government and private industry will build them because they recognize the fact that if you establish these data centers and you establish AI, you don't need to pay wages. You don't need healthcare costs. You don't need to or to debate or negotiate with labor unions. All you have to do is find people to maintain AI, to maintain the software, to maintain the actual working apparatus, whatever that may be, right?
Mhm.
And you can eliminate almost all of your workforce and just have everything done, by using essentially robots and
Sounds like we're
computers.
talking about Amazon because that aren't they already doing that? I even remember some
They
years ago.
are.
What did they talked about? They were going to have a superstore where you can go
Mhm.
to the store. There's no employees. You
And they
can buy
have
what
it.
you want, shop what you want. So I mean,
And
we're
they
already
have it.
coming to that. But we saw that coming, man. George Washington Bridge when they started taking the toll bridges away, not in the subway station. When they started, you had to get a Metro card, and then all of a sudden there was nobody there as a teller. I mean, we saw these things coming. They called it automation. So since more and more things are becoming automated, there is less use for actual human beings to do the work.
And that's the problem. What are we going to do with all of these people? There's nearly 8 billion, I think 7.5 approaching 8 billion people on the planet. What
Mhm.
are we going to do with them when we take away the jobs that they've done,
Mm.
right? Something as simple as truck drivers. Now you have trucks that are, operated remotely, cars, taxi drivers, limousines. You don't need the drivers anymore. You mentioned the toll booths. Everything is easy pass. In New York City, you mentioned the toll booth clerks. Now they want to do away with the conductor and have a
Mhm.
motorman responsible for driving the train, the operation of the train, as well as the operation of the doors. And what will they
Exactly.
do? They will bring in AI to
Yep.
monitor the job that would previously been done by a conductor.
Absolutely.
What
And again,
happens
this
to
is
all
what I
these
was telling you
people?
about when I tell you about the user part of it, of the AI. Now, AI, it has all these wonderful capabilities. It should make life much easier for human beings. A lot of the labor work we wouldn't have to do, all these other work, all these other jobs we wouldn't have to do. But the user, I mean, if we live in a society where I don't know, you really didn't need money, or let's say the government took care of you and you were able to do whatever you wanted to do because AI was taking care of all the other stuff, teaching your kids. Look, you ever watch that Star Trek? Now they got
Yeah.
in Star Trek, I was watching an episode where Spock, where he was learning and they put him in this little like cubicle type thing that went around him, and in front of him all AI was the ones that was teaching the kids. So they put him in there and AI was teaching the kids, so they didn't actually have to have a teacher per se. So
But,
I
but,
mean,
but, but that's a problem because what you do is you decimate the teaching profession.
mhm,
And how does AI know how well a student is grasping the material? AI doesn't know. You program it to give out information, but it cannot really interact with a student on a personal level to say, do you understand? Right?
mhm. I
What
would
we're
say
doing
not
is
yet. I would
we're
say maybe.
putting well,
I
we're
would say
putting
you're
all
right.
these people out of jobs. What are they supposed to do?
I have no idea.
It's like years ago, right? You know, if one particular segment of the economy was suffering, you might take your factory and retool it. Like during the war, right? You have an auto factory. Now you retool it to produce planes, tanks. Now we're retooling it with AI. We're not using human beings. What happens to
I
these
would tell you,
human
you ever
beings?
watched this movie, cartoon called Wally?
Yeah, I've seen parts of it.
Okay, so in Wally, they got all the people that are up in space, you know, and they're all lounging, and the computers and robots are doing everything for them, and all they're doing is laying around, getting fat, getting service. They don't do anything, and the robots and AI just takes care of them, take care of all their needs, and they don't have to do anything but wake up in the morning.
Well, that's a very romanticized view, but the reality is, if you don't have a job, how do you keep a roof over your head? How do you put food on the table? How do you put gas in the car? How do you heat your home in wintertime? Because while AI is taking the jobs, what's going to replace those jobs? Where is the income going to come from these people who were toll booth clerks, who were truck drivers, and now everything is automated? How do they now keep a roof over their head?
The best
Government
thing
is
I can tell
providing
them to
the
do in this
subsidy.
society, you know, they work nice in a society where we didn't need money, but because we're in a society that would need money, what I would tell them to do, and is, I guess, is being a little harsh. I tell them maybe they should learn another trade. I mean, I worked I worked in the phone company for a long time, and during that time in the phone company, I seen us evolve. We actually had to evolve, and when we got to the point where you had to have certain qualifications, like you had to be certified with fiber optic. So once we got to that point, if you weren't certified, well, you couldn't work. It didn't matter.
Yeah, but
So
the problem is today, what field do they go into? The emerging technology is in AI. And if you're not familiar, if AI is foreign to you, where do you go? Everything is being directed toward AI, right? And eliminating jobs. So where do you go to be retrained? What, how many community colleges are offering courses that will introduce you to AI? Trump just said the people in this country are too stupid to do AI. So
uh,
where are you going to go to learn to understand this technology and to apply it so that you can get a job?
well, the one thing I could always say, and I guess we'll end it on this note, we'll pick it back up next week. Um, as human beings, pretty much no matter what the situation, because technology has always been here, and technology has been something that since the beginning of the wheel, we've had technology, and technology has evolved and has evolved and has evolved again, and it's always been that the technology being used is taking somebody else's jobs away. Like at one time, horses were a big thing, so you had the blacksmith out there. So when the automobile came in, what happened to the blacksmith? They had to find another job, or they had to learn another trade. So I'm just saying, we as humans, we'll survive. We'll find some way to survive, as we always have. You know, so fight or flight, we will survive, right? All right. So on this note, we're gonna say goodbye and thank you guys for tuning in. I see everybody out there wanted to say hi and thank you guys for tuning in again. Please like and subscribe. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, Mr. Yates, and we'll pick it up again. Find some really good things to talk about. I really wanted to get into that redacting situation, but we'll hit that up next week. And thank you
Sounds
again
good.
for coming in. Always appreciated here on the
Always a
PA.
pleasure, brother.
Right on. Uh, Thank everybody again for tuning into the PA Empowerment Network on the Politics. We have some other shows coming up tomorrow on the PA Empowerment Show. We'll have a young person coming here from DC. We're going to get into the on the boots on the ground sort of situation, and we get to talk to some guys about what's going on with the National Guards there and what the real feel is. So tune in. Also on Thursday, we have Sharing Your Light with Chris Matthews. On Mondays, you can also tune in. We have two shows. The first show that comes on is from 4 to 5, which is Hanging Out with Anna Lopez. She has a lot to talk about. She's a community person, and she does her thing. After that, we have another young lady that comes in. Her name is Hope Cressman. Now, her show is Mental Health Mondays with Hope. And she really, really has a hell of a show. She has a lot to talk about. She brings a lot of different guests on from all walks of life, and they talk about situations concerning mental health or substance abuse. Okay, so tune in. Also, let me one more show we have. We picked up another show, financial literacy. Now that comes on Wednesday again from 4 to 5, which that's with Jenny Ruiz, and she'll be on tomorrow. So tune in, and she brings on some very interesting guests, and they talk about entrepreneurship, and they also speak about financial literacy. So if you want to know about it, tune in. Again, my name is Kendall Stevenson. Welcome to Politics on the PA Empowerment Network. Ashe and peace.